This is Trotta, and this is the Rockin' Hockey Show.
Hey guys, I'm Claudia Heuser, and this is the Rockin' Hockey Show.
This is hockey, the way it should be. Welcome to the Rockin' Hockey Show.
This is the Rockin' Hockey Show.
This is the Rockin' Hockey Show. This is Rockin' Hockey.
Hi, this is BU Hockey, and you're watching
The Rockin' Hockey Show.
This is the Rockin' Hockey Show. This is the Rockin' Hockey Show. This is Rockin' Hockey.
Welcome to the Rockin' Hockey Show, where our host wishes it was ODR season all year long, Coach Dave Maksy. Hey, what's up, hockey and rock and roll fans? This is the Rockin' Hockey Show. We got great hockey content, and we got kick, rock and roll music to back it up.
So we say you like to rock, and say you like to hop. See you take it all the way to the back of the cage, oh yeah.
Hey, what's up, hockey and rock and roll fans? And welcome to the Rockin' Hockey Show. If it's your first time watching, make sure you give a Gordie Howe elbow to that subscribe button. All right. Don't forget to check out our podcast, The Rockin' Hockey Show, on all your major podcast platforms. It's very convenient to listen anywhere to the Rockin' Hockey Show. Make sure you check that out, Rockin' Hockey Show podcast. Hey, if it's your first time watching, this is a show where hockey and great rock and roll music collide. Yes, the Rockin' Hockey Show. We got great interviews, we got great hockey content, we got skill development, we got rock and roll music, you name it, we got it here on this show. Before we go any further, I want to thank our last guest on the last show, up-and-coming country star Claudia Heuser joined us on the Rockin' Hockey Show for a great interview. If you haven't seen that interview, make sure you check it out. We were live at Claudia's studio, and at the end of the show, make sure you listen, because Claudia sings a special song live for the Rockin' Hockey Show. Check that out. Claudia Heuser, thanks so much for being on the show. Now, moving forward, let's talk about our new show. Man, we got a great show. We got not one, but two great guests on this show. We have from USA Hockey, Vice President of Junior Council, I hope I said that right, TC Lewis. TC Lewis joins us. TC is on the USA Hockey Board of Governors. TC is also one of those unique people who have a resume similar to mine as far as being in the trenches for over 30 years with youth hockey. TC does coaching, he does program development, he runs a rink, as well as all his responsibilities at USA Hockey. So TC has been there and done that when it comes to youth hockey, and he shares his very unique insight on development, on house hockey and rec hockey. He also shares his nice insight on USA Hockey, how they're looking at things like long-term development, 8U hockey, the blue puck, checking, all those great things. TC does touch on all that stuff. He gives a great insight from what USA Hockey looks like. Our other guest, rock and blues guitarist Stoney Curtis. Stoney joins us via Zoom from Las Vegas, and Stoney is a Blackhawks fan and a Golden Knights fan, so we talk hockey, we talk music, so it's great to have Stoney on there. Make sure you check out both interviews, TC Lewis and Stoney Curtis on the Rockin' Hockey Show. Don't forget, we got a great skill development session too. Make sure you check that out. Before we go any farther, say hi to the band. All right, man, let's get rocking. All right, this is the show where the hockey rocks. And the music sucks. Take it away, Lord Stanley's brother. I'm rocking this, yes, Rockin' Hockey merch is now available to you. Check it out at shinnyhockeyco.com. This one is my favorite. Or you can rock a hoodie or this hoodie. Again, get your Rockin' Hockey merch right here at shinnyhockeyco.com. Today's interview brought to you by Trotta. Check them out at trottarochester.com. We got calling in our. We didn't even get a chance to introduce him because we were yakking about everything else. TC Lewis from USA Hockey. And there he is. Look at that guy. TC, how are you?
I'm looking older since the last time I saw you.
Stand up so we can see your shirt.
Oh, yeah.
That's a collector's item.
Ringer tee right there.
That is a collector's item. Wow. I have one of those that's packed away somewhere in a box with all the rest of my Maximum Hockey stuff.
I still had the fleece that we did up that had our numbers on
Those
it.
were nice fleeces.
And
Yes, I miss wearing
when
that.
I moved, it got lost. I got lost in the last move.
So with us now, TC Lewis. TC, welcome to the Rockin' Hockey Show. I'm going to start out with your USA Hockey credentials first, and then we'll go back to the numerous other things you do. But I also want to mention you're from Fairport, New York, so definitely lots of roots back here where RJ and I like to hang out. And I don't know if you remember RJ, but RJ's been at Thomas Creek, which is now called RIC Arena, for 30 years.
February of '96,
February of '96, he started working there.
For the one and only coach, Bill Lucazonis.
Yeah.
Lucas, didn't coach me, coach my brother, though.
So was your brother there then with like guys like Ed Gigi and those guys probably back in the day?
He would have been there back in like 92, 93, maybe?
Yeah, when they were busting out the Lakeshore.
Yeah.
Yes, I love to tell a story because you played with my wife's brothers, Kevin and Bill McNamara, and they live literally probably 3 wood away from the arena, and they had to drive out to Lakeshore all those years when they played for Fairport. And as soon as the kids quit playing hockey, they built the rink right around the corner from their house. So it's kind of a bittersweet for them, but they get to come watch my kids play now all the time because they still live really close. So TC Lewis with us on the Rockin' Hockey Show. Now, TC, you are on the board of directors with USA Hockey, and your official title is vice president and junior council head. Is that director, or did I get that correct?
Chairperson for the junior council.
So what does your title mean? Vice president of USA Hockey, what does that mean?
So we actually just went through I would call it a reorganization or how our board works at USA Hockey. Back in June, it was several years in coming. The USOPC made us, they wanted to downsize the size of our board. So we have now a council that is basically the size of the board used to be. We used to have an executive board. Now we just have the board. That is a boring answer for, I would call it, I'm on the executive board for USA Hockey, but technically it's the board.
Sounds like you're just kind of shuffling the coconuts around right there.
Yeah. And there's a few vice presidents, vice president of youth hockey, vice president of juniors, vice president of different aspects. So I'm probably one of, I think, 6 different vice presidents for USA Hockey. What it means for me at the junior council, I mean, USA Hockey now has, in essence, 3 leagues under our umbrella: the USHL, the NA, and the NA3. There is a lot more junior hockey in the United States now, but some choose to play outside of what we would call our family. But that's all right. They're playing hockey, and that's the number one goal, is to keep as many kids playing hockey for as long as they want.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was just going to say, we just got our own junior team out of the NOW League.
TC, I'm going to ask you on a tangent here. So USA Hockey has an executive director and a president. Where does the buck stop there, and how do they differentiate those two?
That's a great question. So I always say USA Hockey has the paid side and the volunteer side. I'm on the volunteer side. So the executive director is Pat Keller. He's on the paid side. He runs the business. He is in charge of the day-to-day business. The board sets policies and then expects the paid staff to follow through with those policies. So the president and vice presidents and on down, they are responsible for more of a global view, if you will, for USA Hockey. And they're the ones that vote on whether we use blue pucks at 8U or whether we have tag up offsides or any other rule that we can argue about. Those rules are set by the voting members and have nothing to do with the staff, although the staff we rely on to give us what I would call expertise behind the scenes. But the paid staff carries out what the board envisions. And Mike Trimboli is the president. He's a New Yorker. And I actually ran for president against him and lost. And so that was a couple of years ago. But
Well, over to the paid side, TC. How do you do that, or don't you want to be on the paid side?
That's a fun one. I like what I do, so I've never really thought of looking at the paid side, if you will.
Okay, fair enough.
I could see myself doing it. I love USA Hockey. I love being involved, and heck, getting paid for it's not bad. But no, I like what I do on the youth side and the local side and the community side.
Well, we're going to come back to USA Hockey, and you brought up a good point of Board of Governors, how they visualize or theorize about what they want to see the hockey in the United States. So we're going to come back to that and talk about some grassroots stuff, talk about the state of the game as far as USA Hockey's perspective. But first, let's get back to you a little bit so that people listening can kind of know your credentials. And you have a very unique set of credentials, and we don't have a lot of people. When I say we, I'm including myself, of over 30 years in the trenches of doing this stuff. And you are right there with me. RJ too on the retail side, where he's been working in the rink for over 30 years. Me on the on ice side, skill development, coaching side. And you're fit right in with us. And we actually interviewed a good friend of mine, Kelly Katorji from Ontario, who we called a youth hockey specialist. And I think that you fit into that category of a youth hockey specialist, not only with your USA Hockey role, but you've been running a rink for, I don't know how many years. You run youth hockey, you run adult hockey. You also do all the USA Hockey programs where you do the select festivals, like you used to invite us out to evaluate for you for, I know, the select festivals. You've been overseas with the national team. You've coached with and won a couple gold medals, I believe, if I got that all correct, with some of the youth teams. So just a phenomenal background in youth hockey. So would you agree with that term, youth hockey specialist?
Reluctantly, I guess I would. Specialist, like, it's just longevity.
Well, that's kind of what we talked with Kelly about it. He goes, I said, what does that mean? And he goes, well, it just means that we've pretty much seen everything there is to see in youth hockey. So we have experience in that. It doesn't make him a, so to speak, expertise, but that he's been pretty much in any situation you could think of in youth hockey. He's been there, he's done that, and he's experienced it. Therefore, he has some feedback on how to deal with that stuff. And I think that you fit into that category. And I don't think there's a lot of us out there that fit into that category that have been there. I don't know if you agree with that statement or not. Do you think there's more out there than we are aware of, or?
That's a great question. I do. There is no doubt that I've been doing it an awfully long time, seen a lot. I would say the same thing. Although, you do it long enough, every day goes, wow, I've never seen that before. Like something always comes up that you just surprises you, but you just put it down as, oh, there's a new experience. But no, I would definitely say I've been around doing it in a long time. What I have done is a lot of diverse things because of my involvement with USA Hockey, as you point out. And I have it from, I started coaching on Long Island, and back in maybe 91, 92, I was coaching on Long Island, and did that for 7 years. And then see what I would say the complete opposite when I got to Texas. When I got to Texas, we only had 5 associations across the entire state. Now I think we're up to roughly 50.
Wow.
So when I got down here, I was a big fish in a very tiny pond. And when I say big fish, everybody that knows me would say, no, you're not very big. But yeah, it's been neat coming from, But there are also people like I think back at experts. You say Joe Eppolito was the guy that was teaching me how to be a teacher at the clinics back when it was initiation program in Nassau County, and Joe's still there doing the same thing. He's with USA Hockey still. So there are a few of us out there, but yeah, it's been a good run.
Good. Well, good for you. And hockey in the state of Texas has just grown exponentially. Is
Bring
that
the NHL in, and it's
not a bad thing? And
not a bad thing.
It's good to have kids playing, but do you think, and I'm going to go off on a tangent here, too many organizations, meaning too many people with their hand in the cookie jar, or too many chefs in the kitchen, you know what I'm saying? You could still have less organizations and still have the same number of people playing. I don't know. Do you agree with that or no?
Yeah, no, I certainly agree with it. But I will say in Texas, it hasn't gotten to that point yet. When I say 50, now it's a matter of we have them in Odessa, Amarillo, El Paso. Like when I first got to Texas, it was one organization, Houston, and everybody else was in Dallas. And I think it was 4 in Dallas. But the proliferation of rinks, we get more associations, and that isn't a bad thing. So virtually every rink has their own association. The Stars build a ton of rinks, a couple others. So we actually, I'm on that board too. I'm on the Texas Amateur Hockey Association board, and I'd like to think that although people can throw stones, we've built what I would say is a fairly good pyramid right now: Tier 1, Tier 2, and House Rec. You know where I find it, when you get associations that are just starting because somebody got cut or didn't like someone else, that to me, I'm not convinced that does help
Right.
the big picture. But
Yeah, the whole organization jumping thing, which happens here in Rochester all the time for a small market like we are, crazy. The organization jumping,
and they can't. And we've talked about this over the years. A number of times that we assume the pyramid is going to happen in Rochester, and it never. It always falls apart at the last second. We're so close, and then at the last second, it falls apart. But that actually, I was going to ask you about the rinks down there. Is a lot of them like the organization owns, or they like here? It's a lot of privately owned rinks, so that makes everything a lot confusing too, because people are like, well, that's your rink. For youth organization, it's like, no, it's not. You're buying ice from this rink. So, how is it down there in Texas?
I don't think we have any municipal rinks. So I would say we're the reverse of, say, Minnesota, or even New York has some municipal rinks. And Nassau County was one example. But down here, everything is privately owned. I don't know of any maybe I could think of 1 or 2 associations that own the rink, but for the most part, it's a private investor or an investor group, and they build the rink. I would argue it's still a tough business to be in. It's not profitable.
Yes, we know that firsthand because of all the years we've been involved with rinks. So I want to bring up a question. Do you think that the private ownership of the hockey rinks is taking hockey in the wrong direction because of the cost, as opposed to municipal rinks or town-owned rinks or organization-run rinks where they can control the cost and make it more favorable for the consumer?
Well, certainly, if you can get a municipal rink that is doing good things and can keep the cost down, I guess, yeah, I would say it's preferable. I can speak for Texas. We're football country, and there's no way a municipal organization can build a rink and run it. They could care less about hockey. So I wouldn't paint the owners that hey, they're willing to spend their money, build a rink. And I would say in general, down here in Texas, the owners for the most part let people do their job, let them run the rink the way they see best. And with some, I wouldn't put all of the credit, but Taha's done a good job down here of seeing that people work together as best as possible. Doesn't always work, obviously, but no, I would say down here, if we didn't have ownership from a private sector, we wouldn't have any rinks, and it would be a disaster.
Yeah, and I agree. I'm not taking anything away from the people that are willing to spend their money to put up a rink. And as you say, it's either break even or barely profitable on the good side, and most of that is on the bad side where they're not even break even. So running a rink, as RJ can attest to, is a very difficult thing to do. So I nothing against them. I just think with the cost of hockey, the private ownership, because they're trying to find a profit, they're looking to increase in any way they can. So anyway, that's a topic for another day. Hey, we're going to take a break from the interview to check out these Rockin' Hockey highlight goals brought to you by our friends at Howie's. Howie's Hockey, you guys rock. Hey, check out this great breakaway goal by Sean Chervistavasta. Sean, great goal. I hope I got your name right. Way to go, buddy. Something just popped into my head, which kind of leads us to what you and I just talked about, is the state of youth hockey in the country. And I see this, I don't want to say a major problem, but we talk about the pyramid, and if the pyramid is AAA to AA to house rec, I think it should be the opposite. I think your numbers are going to be in the rec department, in the house department, yet they get the least amount of love from at least organizations in Rochester. They get the least amount of love, but they have the most paying customers, where AAA gets all the love, all the attention, and they may only have 2 or 3 teams per organization at that level. Why is that? And what are your thoughts on that whole concept of reversing that pyramid to have the house rec at the top?
Well, it does come down to leadership as best as it can. Like, that's where I again, my focus on so far has been on Texas. I do understand the dynamics nationally, but in Texas, we only have one travel team at AAA. Now, people have fought us on that, and they believe it's not enough choices, or there's more talent out there, or we're losing players that get cut from the tier 1. But in general, we have one tier 1, and then we limit tier 2 to 1 per rink. And then we have a lot of house rec. What we're seeing more lately over, I would say, the past 3 or 4 years, is those kids that don't make the AA teams. That's the group that wants to go create their own program, because House League isn't good enough for them. And I get it. I mean, House League has a real challenge. It's do you want to go practice 2 or 3 times a week, or do you just want to go once a week? Is there a program for that kid that also does swimming and does football and only can make it to the rink once a week? Or in Houston, for instance, we have people traveling 30, 40, 50 minutes to get to the rink. Do you want to do that 3 times a week? Right. And that's the dynamic that to me, that's where soccer and hockey are so much different. There's a soccer field in everybody's backyard just about. And so you can make more of those opportunities. In hockey, you've got to balance at the in-house level. You have to balance how a multitude. Talent is one. So that beginner coming in, and somebody's been playing 2 or 3 years and doesn't want to play travel hockey. And so I feel like in-house is really in the smaller programs, and I would consider ours one of the smaller programs. It's a challenge to take care of every customer, and I actually would argue you can't. The down here, the AAA is taking care of itself, and I think the cream is rising to the crop the best it can. And there's only one in each age, one in each birth level in Dallas. And then when you get into the AA, we limit the number of AA teams that anybody can have. So there's not a proliferation, but it's the in-house that always you have to balance it, and it's not easy. That without question is the real struggle. Is what should house hockey look like? If we had more numbers, I think we could have a beginner house and then an intermediate house, if you will. Somebody that wants to be more competitive, wants to get better, wants to spend 2 or 3 hours a week on the ice, versus that one that just wants to come in, play almost like a drop-in basketball type of thing, and go home.
Yeah, and I mean, well, that's so. I've seen it from when I started, it was house A and house B, but God forbid you use that label anymore. So USA Hockey did try doing the red, white, and blue divisions. The problem is in Rochester is, Dave and I talk about this all the time, a very unique and different hockey demographic, because there is a lot of, I don't want to say wealthy people, but there's a lot of upper middle class. There's a lot of money behind hockey in this area. So like you take the junior amateur, for example, you could probably get this information faster than I could. I think they have 54 teams. I think they have 10 house teams. And the problem is, and then you got that Snowbelt League, like in Auburn, Ithaca, those areas, they do a lot with that red division, which basically used to be house select, where you go to AA tournaments at the end of the year to see how good you were. You pull kids together. And so this area there's 3 or 4 different levels that our organization alone has 2 or 3 AA teams at. And are they true AA teams? The answer is no, they're not. And I don't want to say that to the kids, because the kids are doing just what they're told to do: skate hard, work hard.
Yeah, and I do see that proliferation up there. We limit how many tier 2 or AA teams we can have at any one rink or any area. And again, people will throw stones because if their kid doesn't make that team, or politics are involved. You hear all the stories, but yeah, I think we're actually more similar than probably dissimilar. The everybody wants to be a travel player, and I do think that though pushes the house leagues to be better, to do more, to have better coaching. Going back to where I am at the Aerodrome Ice Skating Complex in Houston, we are, I call it a for-profit rink. We don't make one, but it's a for-profit rink. We run just the in-house side of hockey. I have seen some rinks, one of them here in Houston that failed a few years ago, where the local association was running travel and in-house. And what I find happens, and I find this all over, is the board members for that local 501c3 parent-based program end up being the travel parents. They're the ones most committed. They're the ones most interested. They end up on the board. And I find that that's the driving force to why in-house is a second fiddle there, because those parents don't care.
Because most presidents and vice presidents and travel directors are all travel people, so they drive the organization, which puts its majority of focus on the travel program, especially AAA, and then houses just happens secondary.
Well, and that's
well on that topic, TC, and it's going to switch gears a little bit, but I've kind of, for lack of a better term, been doing a science experiment with my own kids, and with all my years in hockey, I still firmly believe that an average player, or most players, can play house up through peewees and still be successful hockey players at the high school, junior, and college level. I still believe that a kid can come out of house hockey at peewees or first year Bantam and still excel enough to play Division III college hockey. They may not be the cream of the crop at the top 10%ers or play D1, but they can still have a successful career, or maybe play at a high-level club hockey college where they played house up till they were 14 years old. I still believe that's possible, and I had 2 of my 4 boys play house up through peewees, and one of them is playing juniors right now and has a good chance of being a college hockey player at some point, at some level. And my youngest he played up through peewees house, and it's a great experience, and there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not into you have to play AAA at the mite level or the squirt level and play 60 games. I think it can be fun up through peewee. So that kind of leads us. I'll leave that one with you. You can comment on that however you want, into the state of youth hockey as far as USA hockey is concerned.
Well, I will agree with you 100%. We all know it's a late blooming sport. It's not gymnastics. It is a late athlete development situation, without question. I think I'm a good friend of mine, Kenny Roush, used to always say, we're winning the race to the wrong finish line.
Right.
We are more concerned with having peewee nationals, 12U nationals, which we don't have, but winning those championships at 8U AAA or whatever. We're worried about the wrong finish line. We should be thinking long-term, but boy, is that a tough sell on a parent who is the best player in Houston, Texas. And what else is there? They don't want to be left behind. And it's always that feeling that we're going to be left behind. and geez, they get 8 hours of ice over there for 9-year-old hockey, and we've got to do that. And then there's just such a burnout factor. You've spent, as a parent, you've spent probably your kid's college education just to get to 12U hockey.
Yep.
And the kid's burnt out because he's having to give up so much just to play in that great tournament that everybody says we need to be at, to be seen. And yeah, you and I are the three of us are on the same page, I have a feeling.
Well, I have a quick story, two quick stories, really, actually. My buddy just came back from an early bird tournament up in Toronto, and it was supposed to be summer teams division. And this is 9U, by the way, 9U, summer team divisions, and then the AAA fall teams, which, as you know, will be summer teams. They didn't have enough, so they combined them. The team he played against, and they lost 20-1, was a 9U team that has been together for 6 years. They homeschool at their rink. They have one of those conference rooms at their rink that they homeschool. They are on the ice for 2 hours, 3 days a week. And then if they don't have 3 games on the weekend, they have 5. And they've been doing it for 3 years since these kids are 6. And I'm like, that area up there is not only just hockey, but, Canada's big with lacrosse. We're big with lacrosse around here. These kids eventually, half that team will not be playing hockey at 15, 16. There's just no way when you put your kids through that. There's no way.
I wish we would, it's tough to pick on kids, but I wish we would do studies of those super teams and where they went. But you get, by the same token, during the playoff run, you saw how many kids were on that super team in St. Louis a few years ago who are playing in the NHL. They're the exceptions to the rule, but I think we got to focus on the big picture. And the big picture is exactly like you say. They're not even going to be playing the sport.
Right. There's reasons why, too. It could be not that they're burned out. It could be something happens.
Life in general.
Yeah, something happens with the parent. Someone loses a job or they can't do it anymore. And then all of a sudden you look back, oh, man. And, you look at somebody like Bedard who just came out, and he's young enough where these kids will know. McDavid, those guys. Have those guys, that's where I wish Hockey Canada and USA Hockey would grab some of these players like a Makar and those guys and say, this is what I did between the ages of 8 and 15. And you don't I'm not saying I'm the perfect example, but I made it. And just say, parents, listen to the words I'm saying, and I just, there's 1,000 different ways to get, like Dave said, to get to college hockey. We've seen almost all of them in our time. And
well, the other thing people don't realize too, TC, and I wish that somebody would do a study on this, is most players that are good when they're 8, 9, 10 are not good by the time they get to 12, 13, 14. It's just, they're just an average player at best at that time. So just because they developed early with their mind or their physical skills, maybe they were bigger than everybody else, they matured early, they're a great player. And then the parents get these grandiose illusions. Oh my God, I got to get my kid, I got to play hockey year round. I got to take him to Toronto. We got to homeschool him. And then, like you said, by 16, he's got a girlfriend, a job at McDonald's, and doesn't even play hockey anymore. So
I do coaching clinics for USA Hockey, or I had up until recently. And in all my clinics, I would talk about mostly my experience at Nassau County Hockey, because we had I use that example all the time. You don't have a kid, your best 8U is not your best 18U. It just doesn't happen. It's a rarity. And I use Bobby Nystrom's kid, Eric Nystrom, as an example, because Eric he played travel, but he might have been a third line travel player, and he was just having fun. And I never saw pressure. It was always just a goofy kid having fun, just doing. And then he hit, I don't think it was until he was a Bantam, until he was 13, that he started to say, I think I want to take this seriously and actually get good and actually do more. And it's so true that I look at how many kids from that Nassau County program, whether it be Vinny Hellmeyer or Evan Wax, or they were decent players, but they went along the process, and I'd like to think we didn't go overboard, but they weren't very good 8Us at the time. They develop over time, and you're right. A study would be good to show where these kids come from, and the Patrick Kanes of the world probably were the best 8U player at the time too. The superstars, the McDavids of the world, were the superstars, but that second and third line player that's now playing in the NHL probably wasn't. And we don't shine the light on them enough.
I mean, like a couple of those guys like some of the examples would be who was kid played for Ottawa. He was their number 1 draft pick. He was breaking all Gretzky's records in the queue.
Alexander Daig.
There you go. And then he got up there and he took one of those NHL hits, and he was still a very good NHL player for 4 years, 4 or 5 years, but he never turned into the guy that they wanted to be. And a lot of it is the physicality. Now, that's completely changed in hockey, and we talk about it all the time. Is checking is not so much gone from it, but it's almost turned into there's a reason now to check. Too many, so as the game changes, that'll change too, where these kids that were danglers at 10, 11, 12 back in our age, they would take that big high school hockey hit or big bantam hit, and all of a sudden, oh, maybe he's going to be a AA player now because he doesn't want to play those midget kids. I mean, we had a handful of those. That's not there anymore, so they could, that stuff disappears too, and the game changes and evolves. But
well, you're going off on another complete tangent right now. So
tangents here.
Just to save you from, we could talk about this for all day, TC, but just to save you from being on too long, I wanted to bring you one more thing. We'll talk about it for a few minutes, and we'll have a little fun with some other stuff, and then we'll let you get on with your life. But so based on what we talked about with the pyramid, with organizations, with house hockey versus travel, the late developers, what is USA Hockey doing at this moment right now for the future of hockey to kind of tackle some of those things? I know you came out with the ADM, but that was 10, 15 years ago now that the ADM has been out. What is on the front burner now for USA Hockey to tackle these issues that we just discussed?
Well, you're right. ADM, I think it might be 11 years now. And those ADM managers are now considered player development managers. The concept is still there. They've changed the dynamics a little bit, where they're a regional person handling all ages, and now it's more based on age. So they'll have 3 player development managers now, if you will, run 8U through 11U, and then there's a middle, and then there's a higher end geared towards. So I think they're trying to change the dynamics within that department to kind of grow with where we've gone, so that the ADM doesn't get stale, but the message, dare I say, is still the same. And those guys are still out in the marketplace. Those females as well are still in the marketplace pushing that agenda. Because I think that I said this to them a few years ago, is they came out and they dealt with the 8U parents, but every year there's a new crop of 8U parents, and we can't let that message fall apart. We have to keep pushing. And we've made some significant strides. And I joked earlier in the call, but the blue puck, boy, did we take a lot of heat for a blue puck. Now, for the most part, although I can't speak for everywhere, it seems pretty much in the game. I know right now our next challenge is the 8U and full ice versus cross ice versus 2/3 ice or whatever. I'd love to see us tackle, at least get more creative at 10U, where maybe part of the season is 3/4 ice, or 4-on-4 3/4 ice, or we've tried 4-on-4 cross ice with 10U. Where it's going, that's a great question. I can tell you that there's nothing shocking or that everybody's going to go, whoa, what are you doing now? It's, to me, we're still nibbling at where we need to get to. The youth council, I was on the youth council for a number of years, and now that I've moved over juniors, I now I see it locally. I don't see the national side quite as much, but we just need to keep hitting the points, as you guys both allude to. It's a long-term development process, and there is value in following the process. There's a value in that we don't need to compete. But I will tell you this, what I find that we're facing at USA Hockey is competition. So if people don't like I'm a big believer in cross ice 8U hockey. I think that 4-on-4, 3-on-3 in the small areas is the way to go. Less value on the score, less value on standings. But there are people out there that say, well, not for us. And then they'll leave USA Hockey. And then we don't have control over that anymore. Now, it shouldn't be a control issue. I don't think, like, that's not how it should work, but it is tough when we look at the Europeans, and we look at the Finns and we look at the Swedes and the Norwegians, and they're pushing everything off, as we say, and playing house hockey until 12. They can do that with a mandate. If we do it, that's a dirty word in USA hockey. Say the word mandate, because then people run away. So I think we're in a very interesting, possibly I would term a difficult stage at USA hockey to sell what we need to do, and have it followed, as opposed to people running to become AAU basketball.
Yep. And that's where, when you were talking the whole time, all I was thinking about was the word sell. I don't know who handles like your guys' Instagram, Twitter, that media aspect of it. But the one video where they put the adults on that dimension rink,
awesome.
That should be posted constantly when this time of year when might start up.
Big net video, you're right. It would be old for you and I because we've seen it for years, but it's not old to the person who's just starting out. I'm going to call Tony's the head of marketing at USA Hockey. I'm going to say, okay, let's think about this. This is a no-brainer. The ones where the parent involvement, where the kid was playing hide and seek and he was hiding them in the sewer. That video should be trotted out. You're right. Every single year, because we're always developing new people that haven't seen it before.
Hey, check out this great goal by MJ Lord. Great goal, MJ.
You know, I'm a big fan of USA Hockey. You guys keep fighting the fight. It's a losing battle, but somebody's got to fight it.
Yep.
You know, as far as 8U kids coming up to 9U and not being behind the 8 ball, I don't agree with that, because
I don't either.
You can learn. You got the next 10 years of your life to learn how to break out the puck, how to forecheck. That's not what might hockey's all about. It's about skating and skill development. It's not about breakouts. It's not about lining up for faceoffs, which is such a waste of time, and these coaches get so caught up on that. But anyway, so we're gonna switch gears here, TC, and then we'll let you go, buddy. This is the Rockin' Hockey Show, so we're gonna talk a little bit about music now. You're in my age bracket a little bit, so hopefully you name some good bands. What's your go-to music?
Oh, well, my favorite band is Led Zeppelin. I think pound for pound, they put out more great music than anybody else. So I'm also classic rock and roll. What I'm really getting into is I was not a fan growing up of the Rolling Stones, but man, do I listen to a lot of Rolling Stones right now.
They're a great band, and they just new up too. So it's in their 70s. They just put out new music.
Yeah. And I also like I would call it progressive jazz or jazz fusion or
smooth jazz.
Yes. Well, smooth jazz, but more funk to it. I'm a huge Earth, Wind and Fire and that genre too. So yeah, it's
Funkadelics and those guys.
Yeah. It's gotta have smooth jazz. Elevator music isn't for me, but some upbeat smooth jazz is good.
Listen, TC, thank you so much for coming on the show. Great to see you. I haven't seen you in forever. We got so much to talk about. Maybe we'll have you on again if you don't mind. Awesome. Thanks, TC. Hey, take care of yourself, buddy.
Hey, good talking to you.
Thanks, everyone. Love it.
Yeah.
Check out Trotta. It rocks, just like the Rockin' Hockey Show.
This is Rockin' Hockey.
The skill development session brought to you by our good friends at Pirani's Hockey World. Hey, good morning, rockers and hockers, and it's a beautiful day. It's about 12 degrees out. Sun's just creeping above the trees, and we're gonna hit the ice. Got some great stick handling skills today to show you guys, and it's great for even you young puck handlers as well as you stick handling mavericks out there. We got great stuff for beginners, even advanced level players here on the Rockin' Hockey Show. Let's get rocking. Take that stick, turn it sideways, and hey, good morning. Time to lace up the wheels. Said we got some good puck skills for you today. We got some really basic puck skills. We got some more advanced puck skills. Listen. Sit down and listen to this, okay? great puck skills comes great responsibility. Okay? Saying sounds familiar. I'm not sure who said that, but I'm not sure. Maybe I just made that up, or if you know what movie that's from, let me know. Anyway, great puck skills comes great responsibility. Okay? You're not just dangling for yourself. It's not about you, all right? It's not a fashion show where you just try to dangle to look good, all right? This is hockey. You're dangling. You're making moves with the puck so that you can set up your teammates, all right, and make a better play. That's what dangling's all about, all right? So don't kid yourself. It's not about you. Great puck skills comes great responsibility, all right? We're trying to make a better play. We're trying to keep possession of the puck so that we can make a better play. So today, not only are we going to look at the dangles a little bit, I don't even want to call them dangles because it's just kind of basic puck skills today, but we're going to focus on your stance, all right, so you're strong in your skates. We're going to focus on your grip a little bit so that you're strong with your stick, you have some good reach, all right? All right, let's do this. Ready? This is the Rockin' Hockey Show. All right, welcome to the Rockin' Hockey Show, and welcome to my office. Once again, it's a beautiful day. Sun's just creeping over the trees here, about 12 degrees. Today we're going to talk about puck skills. With great puck skills comes great responsibility. Don't forget that, okay? If you don't pay attention to anything else, remember that one. All right, so here we go. Good, strong hockey position, all right? We don't want to get knocked off the puck, okay? So I want to be able to be strong on my skates here. My feet are just a little bit wider than my shoulders. I want to be able to move too. That's going to be key. But I also want to be able to protect the puck, and I want to be able to transfer my weight, because with puck skills comes faking. All right, not just stick handling. We want to be able to move around, fake, dangle, and puck protect at the same time. So good, strong hockey position. Okay. Talk about our grip here. Okay. So I got my hand right in the end of the stick. Put my elbow on top, and I grab. That's your basic stick handling grip. Now I can absolutely move up and down a little bit, but I don't want to come up too much because now I'm not going to be very strong. So I want to be able to reach and still be strong here. Okay, if the hand slides up, I can reach farther, but I don't have a lot of strength with my stick, and I'm probably not going to be able to support the puck, meaning I'm not going to be able to pull off the move that I want to try to make here. So I talk about puck support. I want to use my body and my stick to support the puck and support whatever move I'm trying to do. So we got our stance, we got our grip, okay? Now, what I want to do is I want to take that stick and I want to draw a straight line out my belly button, okay? Here. What I don't want is my hand stuck on my hip pocket here or on my hip where my stick is always on an angle. I want to be able to reach out in front of me, and that top hand, whether it's my right hand or my left hand, needs to be able to clear my body comfortably, okay? So your stick doesn't have to be straight perpendicular out in front of you, but that's a start. This is where we're making sure that that hand is in front of our body, coming out of our belly button, and that allows me, all right, to go right and left easily, all right, and I can be more deceiving because I'm not always coming from the one side, okay? So puck out front. Now, this is an issue I see with a lot of young puck handlers, okay, is they don't use their blade properly, all right? The puck is either on the toe of their stick, and when it's on the backhand, especially because you got a curved blade, that's when it's going to roll off a lot. So we want to make sure we're on the forehand. The puck is in the middle of your blade here, so you have lots of margin of error, lots of room there, all right, to handle the puck. When it's on your backhand, closer to the heel here where it's more flat. Once it gets up on that curve, it's going to take off on you. Believe me, it takes off, okay? Sometimes pucks have a mind of their own, but we got to make sure that puck works for you, that you're not working for the puck, okay? We want the puck to do what you want to do, so we got to dictate to the puck what's going to happen here, so pay attention, all right? So we talked about middle of your blade. We talked about having that puck out front of you. I want to make sure I'm rolling my wrists, okay? See how my blade's moving side to side? It's my wrists working together here, all right? And what that does is it creates an angle on your blade, and a lot of times it's called cupping, all right? You're cupping the puck, but it angles your blade and it helps keep the puck in the middle of your stick, okay? Or the middle of your blade. Because if I don't cup it and my blade stays straight, all right, the puck's going to roll off my stick, and we're going to get into that in a little bit more, okay? I also want to make sure that my grip is strong and firm, okay, but I'm not squeezing. You don't want your forearms to get tired, all right? You don't want to squeeze your stick because you want to feel the puck, but you do want to be strong to use your stick properly, all right? If I got too light of a grip here, I'm not going to be able to pull off some of these moves I want to pull off or battle with the puck, okay? So it's a combination of all those things together. Okay, this is what I talked about, cupping the puck, rolling your wrist. This is when my blade is straight up and down. Now watch what's going to happen. I'm going to stick handle, all right, and look how the puck works its way off the toe of my stick, and now I've lost it, okay? Especially on my backhand. See how that puck's going to roll off my blade, all right? So I want to move that puck more to the heel of my blade on my backhand and anywhere in the middle of the heel on my forehand. But notice now my stick is actually angled over top of the puck. That's called cupping the puck. And notice how the puck just stays right in the middle. All right, so now the puck is working for me. I'm not chasing the puck around, okay? Just simple cupping the puck. I'm rolling my wrist, and that keeps the puck right in the middle of my stick. And we're going to talk about the direction of the puck that we want the puck to travel when we're making these moves coming up. Okay, now we're going to talk about some simple basic exercises, and we're going to again stress our stance and our grip here and what the puck is doing. Now I have this little thing I made here, very cheap, just leftover 2x4s. Now they make some nice ones out there. Some of them can be expensive. Are they necessary? No. Are they helpful? Absolutely. Depending on how you want to use them. Okay, they're great for working on some skills, but they're not necessary to become a better puck handler. Okay, so but it's going to help us show also the line of the puck here. Okay, so I'm just going to go back and forth. All right, so I got my stance, I got my grip, I'm out front of my belly button here. All right, I'm going to go back and forth, but what I want the puck to do is to travel in a straight line from here to here, so that while I'm making my moves, I can regain the puck on the opposite side. Okay, see how it goes back and forth in a nice straight line. Now if I don't cup the puck, all right, it's going to roll off the end of my stick, and then before I know it, it's up here now, and I've messed up my move because that probably hit a skate or a stick or whatever, okay? And remember, the angle of your blade here, if my blade is angled just slightly, the puck's going to travel on an angle up this way, and I don't want it to go there. I want it to be back here, so the puck only goes where you force it to go, so it's so important to make sure your stick blade is perpendicular. There's that word again. See if you can spell that, okay? Perpendicular to the direction I want the puck to go. If I want it to go straight sideways, then I have to have my blade angled that way, okay? Now I can notice my legs are rocking, hands out front of me so I can clear my body if I need to, and then I can mix up my pattern, all right, to be a little more random. All right, we don't want to be, what's the word? Deliberate when we're handling the puck here. All right, we want to be random. Fakes are going to be quick and random, and lots of times you don't even know what you're doing, but your hockey instincts kick in, all right, or your spidey senses kick in. Ooh, there's another reference right there. Weird. Anyway, they kick in, and your fakes and your puck skills need to be quick and random. They can't be deliberate and slow. Okay? So as I do this, and I feel more comfortable, I can start mixing up my pattern. Oh. Ta-da! Okay? Now, I can also be a little more creative. Okay? So instead of just going side to side, again, I'm going to keep my hockey position. Now I'm just going to make a figure 8 around the puck, but notice how my blade is cupped and moving. Okay? I'm going to show you this up close. Okay, notice how I cup the puck. I'm going to open is pushing, open is push, cup is pull. Cup is pull, pull, push. Alright, see how my blade is angled, and that makes the puck go in the direction I want to go. And I can switch directions here, push, cup. Alright, I know you can't see my hands and my feet, but I'm in a good hockey position. I have a good grip on my stick, and I'm able to reach. When I talked about supporting, even way up here, I'm able to support the puck with my legs and my body. Okay, now I'm going to get a little more creative for some of you stick handling and puck skill mavericks out there, okay? So again, while I'm doing this, I'm going to use my legs to support the body. I'm going to make sure I have a good grip I'm gonna make sure that I have some reach, and I'm gonna move to support what I'm trying to do right here, okay? And again, we wanna be quick and random. First get good, then get quick and random. My pattern can be different as I go. Notice how the puck is traveling in a straight direction. All right, look at my blades are cupped. Puck moves straight sideways. Figure 8, moving my blade. All right, to cup the puck so it travels in the direction I want it to go. Okay, now we're getting really crazy. Don't try this at home without parental supervision. Just kidding. All right, so again, I'm gonna use my body and I'm gonna move my feet. I can do shuffles, slides, or even crossovers here as I get going, okay? That's Rockin' Hockey. Thanks for watching the show. I'm Jeff Toper, and this is the Rockin' Hockey Show.
Check out Trotta. It rocks.
Hey, check out another great interview with rock and blues guitarist Stoney Curtis right here on the Rockin' Hockey Show. Hey, rockers and hockers, and thanks for tuning in to the Rockin' Hockey Show. And man, we got a special guest, special musical guest on the show today. I know mostly we have hockey guests, but definitely a great musical guest. We have blues and rock guitarist Stoney Curtis. Stoney, how are you, man?
I'm great, man. Good to be here. Thanks.
Hey, thanks so much for coming on the show. I'm rocking my KISS shirt for you, buddy. I see you got your KISS sign in the back there. That's awesome.
I got my Destroyer. I got my Detroit Rock City shirt on today. It's been full KISS mode for me for the past several weeks.
Well, before we get into that, I want to. I was reading on your website that you and your bass player actually met because of you both love KISS, and that kind of was your first connection on how you guys ended up getting together.
Well, him and so many people are my buddies because of our love of KISS, and it's like you go back into being a 12-year-old boy or 14-year-old boy in the basement, and yeah, it's usually like one of those things. Oh, you're a KISS fan? Oh, I'm a KISS fan. So right.
I remember vividly being probably 7 or 8 years old, and my older brother got the KISS Love Gun album and pulled out that little toy gun they had, and
oh yeah,
we would pretend to be KISS with our tennis rackets as guitars. I remember that vividly as a young boy. So what that's awesome. They were on everybody for that matter.
Yeah. It was a big thing when we were kids of that generation, the children of the 70s, so to speak,
So your current, now I think you have two current bands, right? Your Stoney Curtis band and Count 77. Is that correct? Just the two of them?
Yeah, just the two of them.
And
a lot of people think I play in like 18 bands, but no, it's just the Stoney band and the Count 77 band. That's enough. That keeps me busy. And
simultaneously, or
they're both going at the same time all the time. Yeah, the Stoney band's just a trio, and that's Barry and I, and then in the Count band, Barry plays in the Count band as well. But then there's John Zito, there's Danny, of course, Tommy Paris, Jeff Tatora plays drums, and so yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Jeff had a great interview with Jeff, and he plays in about 100 different bands. I don't know how he does so many musical things. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's yeah. Jeff's a busy guy, but he's so good. I mean, that's why. So
yeah, no, he was awesome.
Everybody wants him.
So let's talk about you wanted to promote a charity, your KISS Night coming up. Tell me about that and what's happening with that.
Yeah, the KISS Night is a charity event that I started with a couple of buddies of mine in 2012, and it's basically a fundraiser to raise money for our our schools here, for the music departments, to get them new instruments in the classrooms, right? And we're expanding a little bit to maybe do a couple scholarships and maybe help some vets out with some guitars and stuff. But the main purpose of it was to raise money for the music departments in our schools here in Clark County and Vegas. Because, you know, the art department and the arts in general are usually the first thing that gets cut out of the budget.
Right.
So, you know, so when you go into some of these music departments, which I have, I mean, a lot of the stuff that's in there, it's garbage. You know, it's been there for years. It's been beaten up. Some of the stuff is unplayable, you know, and you're trying to learn how to play the guitar. If you have a guitar that it's next to unplayable or hard to play, you're going to get discouraged. You know what I mean? And it's just not working. So, I started this, doing this with a woman named Lisa Chapman, and she had a charity called Imagine. And that's who I started doing it with, distributing the money.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's something that's
a bunch of artists together, and they just kind of pay tribute to Kiss, and then whatever money you can raise for that. Is that kind of how it works?
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. But yeah, I mean, we have a ton of musicians, and the night this year it's October 7th. And the night starts at 8 o'clock, and we have a bunch of special guests, big time performers. This year we have Bruce Kulick, who was in Kiss for 12 years or so. Right. So he's one of our performers this year. And there'll be a lot of other surprises as well. So yeah, it's a great night. We play all Kiss stuff. We have raffles and giveaways. And it goes, man, this thing goes on all night, but it's all Kiss, and it's amazing, man. We have a big tank on the stage for the drum riser. It's a whole thing, man.
Everybody get dressed up in their makeup too, or no?
Well, no, we don't. But we do have a tribute band that comes in and does a couple of songs, and they'll put on the makeup and the costumes and stuff. But for the most part, it's just us. But
any chance
it's all rehearsed.
Or Gene making an appearance, or no?
Who's that?
Any chance of Paul or Gene making an appearance? Never.
It would be nice, but you know, Eric Singer and Tommy Thayer both live in Vegas, but they're going to be in Australia on October 7th, so they're not going to be there. But we do have Bruce, and we have a really cool set plan with Bruce as a tribute to his brother Bob, who was involved with Kiss back in the 70s and the Paul Stanley solo album and some of that stuff. And so yeah, it's going to be a real special evening. And yeah, we raise money. It's a $10 donation at the door, and you know, we pack the place, and we sell the booths and we sell the tables to make some money. But yeah, it's
somebody wanted to go online, Stoney. Can they go online? Where do they go to? Yeah,
they're going to go to kissnight.org. That's a website. You know, you can make a donation there. We have a PayPal. It's at Kiss Night. But if you go to kissnight.org, that has a lot of the information on there. And then the event is at Counts Vamped here in Las Vegas. Yeah.
Awesome. That sounds like an awesome night.
It really is. It's really special, and it's something that's really dear to my heart that I've been a champion of since the beginning. I mean, this is our 8th Kiss Night, our 9th charity event. And you know, we had a couple of years off, so this is our first year back, and we've been rehearsing it, because it's not just a free for all. I mean, we rehearse it. It's a long show. It's about 4 hours, 4.5 hours, but it's nonstop. But it's all rehearsed, and it's everything played at a really high level.
Well, that's awesome, and I wish you the best of luck with your charity. So
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Here's another great goal by MJ Lord.
Let's switch gears and talk some hockey, Stoney, now.
Yeah, man.
You live in Vegas. Are you a Golden Knights fan?
I'm a big Golden Knights fan, and I'll tell you how it went down. I grew up in Chicago, a Blackhawks fan. I grew up with Pitt Martin and Stan Mikita and all that, right? Chelios, all the guys. You know, we've been through it. But you know, I've lived in Vegas now for a while, for 15 years, right? And when we were getting a team here, you know, I was all in. I went to the naming of the team. I wore my Blackhawks vest, and you know, I went in, and I went when they named the team, and I went to the NHL draft when they drafted Fleury and all these guys for that. And I've been all in on the Knights since day one. I'm still a Blackhawks fan. I mean, that's still, you know, it's still my blood. But the Knights they're homegrown. It's our first real professional team here, and so yeah, I mean, if you're a hockey fan and you've been here since day one, I feel comfortable to say I am a big Golden Knights fan, but I'm also still a true blue Blackhawks fan.
And you're blessed because you only had to wait 6 years to get a Stanley Cup. So, I mean, talk about incredible. Now, let me ask you, did you drink from the cup at all? Did you see it at any of the local bars or anything, or no?
Well, I'll tell you, and I'll send you the picture. I had a private meeting with the Stanley Cup after game one. I went to game one of the Stanley Cup final here in Vegas. And then afterwards, a good friend of mine, Brian Slagle, who owns Metal Blade Records, but he's a big hockey guy and he knows a lot of these hockey, the bigger guys, right? So he's good friends with Mike Bolt, who is the keeper of the cup. So Mike invited us to go over to his room over at the Aria after game one, and it was me, Brian Slagle, Lizzie Borden, who is a musician, also is a legendary metal singer, and we went up there, and the four of us were in the room with the cup, and I got to see it. I got and Mike Bolt said the best thing. He goes, "Man, you can kiss it, you can hug it. You can love on it. You can do whatever you want, but you can't lift it over your head because you have to earn that." And I said, I understand that. So yeah, so we took pictures with it and had a nice little, I got to read all the names on it and my Blackhawk guys from, the 2000, oh, this is so awesome. So yeah, so I had my own private meeting with the cup, and
awesome. You weren't at the
and I got people. Yeah, I got a picture of me like hugging it. So I'm like, "Oh, you're not supposed to touch it." I'm like, "Well, I touched it, and it seemed to work out fine."
I think that's only for players, as you're not allowed to touch it as you're competing for it because it's bad luck. But you're not.
Yeah, everybody's got something to say, that, right? But yeah, that was really, really special for me, man. It was like it's intense to be around that trophy. I mean, it really is. I mean, because you're like, oh, wow. I mean, there it is. That's it.
It does give off a vibe, doesn't it?
It really does. Yeah. So that was really special. So, and I went to game 5. I went to game 5 when Washington won it here against the Knights that first year. So it was nice to be on the winning side this time.
That's awesome. So listen, did you ever play hockey?
I did when I was, I did when I was a kid. I played around with it a lot, and we played old school out on the frozen ponds, with a bunch of crazy kids with sticks and, I love it. I mean, to me, hockey is, I'm going to say it's my favorite sport. I just, everything about it, the energy, the pace, the hitting. I mean, a lot of the stuff that these guys do, in between plays, if you were in the NBA or something, you'd be suspended for the year. So that's why I love it so much, right?
It's funny because you see these NHL guys blocking shots and getting in a fight, and they're back and getting 17 stitches in their head, and they're back out on the ice 5 minutes later playing. And I think it was Charles Barkley said, he goes, "If I ever got hit like that, I would be retired immediately." And these guys, guys are back out playing 5 minutes later with 17 stitches in their head.
I love it. I love it. I love it so much. And we're so blessed here because, I mean, again, we've been good pretty much from day one. I mean, so, we had I guess maybe last year or the year before, we had a little bit of a rough season, but yeah, they've been pretty much, a playoff team since day one. And, again, as as a Red Wings guy there or a Blackhawks guy, you have your good years, and then you got a lot of lean years.
Yes, and you're actually in a lean year right now with your Blackhawks, but you do have Connor Bedard coming up, so that's got to be exciting for you guys.
Man, he's good, isn't he? I mean, I'm like, right. I mean, when we got that #1 draft and they got him, I'm going, well, I mean, this could be, the beginning of another Kane.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, who knows, right? Time will tell, how it pans out. But I mean, he's something special for sure.
Yeah, he's a real deal. But fortunately for you as a Blackhawks fan, is you had some great years between Chelios years, and then now with the Kane Tays years, you got to see a couple Stanley Cups in your lifetime, which is always a bonus.
Yeah.
So and then now being a Vegas fan too, you got to see a Stanley Cup there twice. Actually, they competed for it. So I would say you're pretty fortunate as a hockey fan to see your first team and your second team actually competing for Stanley Cups and winning them. So that's always nice to be a fan like that.
Well, absolutely, and all that's happened in the last 15 years. I mean, that's for me, that's 4 Stanley Cups. In 10, 15 years. I mean, that's a blessing, and not many people ever get to experience that. But when they won it here, I went to game 1, but at game 5 when we won it, I was with some buddies who are uber hockey fans, but we were down in the plaza right outside the stadium watching it out on a big screen with probably, God, I don't know how many people. There were thousands of people down there, but we were right out in the thick of it, screaming and yelling. And the funny thing is that that final game, I mean, we scored 9 goals or something like that. It was crazy. So outside, there's like that little bit of a delay. So, you're out there watching on the big screen with thousands of people. Then you'd hear in the stadium, you hear the horn go off. Right. And then like 5 seconds later, you see it happen on the screen as everybody's going insane. That game was insane. And to be down there, just that energy of the hockey people, man, there's nothing like it.
Yeah, I've never been to a Stanley Cup game, and I've never been at a city where they've won a championship at that moment. But when the Red Wings won the conference finals back in, it was way back in early 2000s, I think. But I was at a bar right outside of the rink, and the energy was, I can't even explain it. And it wasn't even the Stanley Cup; it was just the conference finals. But we beat Colorado that game, which was our arch rival, and the whole city was just going bananas. It was crazy. So what a great experience. So I'm gonna switch gears a little bit on you. So being a hockey fan and me being a hockey guy, this is what I do for a living. And I also play in a band, by the way. I love the similarities between playing a team sport like hockey and playing in a band. And I don't know what your thoughts are, but I just love it. And our band is relatively new. We've been together for about 3.5 years now. And we play all original songs. But there's not a better feeling in the world than when you can get together and jam, and it's just like magic. Everybody's in sync, everybody's on time, and it's just like, wow. It's like winning the championship when everybody's participating and contributing. I don't know if you still have those being in a band your whole life, if that's something you still experience of, man, what a magical night that was. I know you have off nights and on nights like anybody else, but just I love the chemistry that it takes for a band to be successful.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of similarities, right? Because doesn't matter how great you are if everybody else is a boat anchor. I mean, it doesn't matter, right? I mean, you've got to have a team, right? So, I mean, you're only as good as the sum of all its parts, right? So, same thing. I mean, a band is no different than a team. I mean, you got 4 or 5 guys, or I mean, and if you work together and you have chemistry, and I've said this too forever, is that you can have the greatest musicians or players on the planet, but if they ain't got no chemistry together, they can't work together. It doesn't matter. It's not going anywhere. And it's the same thing with a band, or same thing with a team, right? So so there's a lot of similarities with the Count 77 band. We're all best friends, and we all kind of came together organically 15 years ago or 12 years ago. We came together organically because we're just buddies. We're like, hey, let's get together and jam. And, so it kind of went from there. So we already had that chemistry together. Right. So it's a great band, and yeah, absolutely. A lot of similarities.
I think it's great. So I want to ask you this question. And earlier in the show, when we put it out, we interviewed, his name's TC Lewis. He's with USA Hockey. He's on the board of governors of USA Hockey. And one of the topics we talked about was how hockey is a late developing sport, meaning that players don't really get good until they're in their late 20s, sometimes even in their 30s before they really get good. And that's why, if you look at a college hockey roster, college hockey players don't go to school until they're 21 years old. Everybody else in the world is graduating at 21, 22, and college hockey players are just becoming freshmen at that time. And that's because of the late development of the sport, where players just don't get good till later on. what are your thoughts on music? Do you find that that players get better with age, or do you think it's not even similar, or are they good early on? What are your thoughts in comparison to what I just said about hockey?
Well, I mean, again, I mean, there's a lot of comparisons here. Same thing. I would like to think that as a guitar player, I get better every year. I hope so, because I'm playing all the time, so, being a guitar player, my body's not going to be breaking down like I'm a professional athlete. I'm not taking the same kind of abuse, but yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you think about some of these bands from the 70s, they were kids, they were in their 20s, but it was still new, right? So I mean, as we've gone through time and through life, yeah, I like to say that we get better as we continue on. I hope so, anyway. I think musicians do it, and I'm sure hockey players do as well. I don't know when the peak would be with a musician. It's to be seen, I guess. But I think every year we kind of get better.
Yeah,
and you learn more too. You learn more too. It's like with Tom Brady. I mean, Tom wasn't the same. Maybe didn't have the same giddy up in his step, but his knowledge and the way he sees things kind of would overcome whatever physical right
that he had in his younger years, for sure. No, I agree.
Yeah,
too. So,
hey, check out this great shot by Brendan Piccirilli. Great goal, Bren. Keep rocking, buddy.
Well, let me ask you another question. And this is a little bit back about your history. Now growing up, were you always a musician?
Oh yeah, I always loved sports and playing the guitar. So I probably started playing the guitar when I was about 11 or 12 maybe, and then but I was fascinated by it since I started hearing music, right? So it was probably 10 or 11 or 12 by the time I really started playing. But I grew up playing baseball, hockey, football, basketball, and I was always pretty good. I was naturally athletic, so I always enjoyed playing it. But by the time I got to the high school level, I played a little bit here and there. But as I got more and more into music.
So let me ask you this, and this is a concept that really intrigues me as a hockey guy. And now that I'm kind of at my age right now, just delving into music, which I've always loved. It's always been my second love. The nature versus nurture. Some musicians are classically trained or professionally trained at an early age. Some musicians are they pick up a guitar and they just start ripping it out, and it just comes naturally to them, and they don't do any training. Similar to hockey players, where a lot now, like what I do for a living is I train hockey players. That's what I do. And so I'm working with kids that might be 5 years old, might be 7 years old. They may be 17 years old or 20, but I'm training them on how to be better. And then you get some kids that are just naturally gifted. They pick up a stick and put on a pair of skates, and they're the best player on the ice. So the whole nature versus nurture on athletes and music. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think you have to have some kind of natural ability. I mean, not everybody's going to be a hockey player. Not everybody's going to be a musician. Some people just don't have that gene or that chromosome or whatever it is that, what I mean, it gives you natural ability. I think you have to have, it can be taught, but I think the people that usually really excel have some kind of natural ability built into them already. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with that, because like I said, what I do for a living, I could teach lessons. I could do 1,000 lessons with a hockey player, and they could be perfect at what we're working on. But then you put them in a game situation and they can't execute that play because maybe they don't have that gene or that chromosome that says, hey, you're a hockey player, let's do this. But in a controlled setting, they can do it very well. So I find it's a combination of both, but I'm always intrigued by how much training and how much just natural ability or natural development do you get from your parents? You know, is it in the genes that your mom or dad was a great athlete, so you're a great athlete, or your mom or dad was a great musician, so you automatically are going to be a very good musician at least, and then they need some training on that. So I just find that that's an amazing thing that with all my years of doing hockey, I still haven't put my finger on the exact mathematical equation for that.
Yeah, because I mean, you even think about, you know, and the one that just kind of pops in my mind is like Walter Payton's son, Jarrett, right? Dad was Walter Payton, and he played a little bit of college ball or whatever, but he never got to the right. He was never his father. And some of these guys, they're never going to be what their parents were. But and then some of them, like Curry, I mean, his father was a great professional basketball player, but the son is a legend, right? So yeah, so I mean, it's, you never know, I guess, you know.
Yeah, it's just, like I said, it's just an interesting concept to me, and I'm always trying to study it and see what works. So I'm going to switch gears back to your music here, Stoney. You have 6 albums, I believe, with the Stoney Curtis Band, and I think 3 of them are live albums. Is that correct, or is it 4 of them are live albums?
Two of them.
Only 2 of them.
Yeah, so the first Stoney Curtis Band album is a live album that was just, you know, self-produced, self-made, and that was in like 2001, I think. And then the Shrapnel album started in 2005. So, and then there's one Shrapnel album that's a live one. So there's four studios.
Your first album that really got you on the map, though, right? That's kind of what got the attention of the record company.
It is, yeah. The that little live album that I made, double live album I made in a blues club in the Valley of California, LA. Still does well for me. I mean, it kind of has like a cult following, so to speak, right? So I mean, I get, and the cool thing about that is I own that album, so I hope it sells as much as possible, because all that money comes direct, right?
Yeah,
I'm not splitting it with anybody.
I always prefer live music over studio music, just personally when I'm listening. I think it's awesome. So listening to some of your songs, I was scrolling through them, and the song "My Detroit" caught my attention because I'm from Michigan. Right. Red Wings hat on, so I'm like, oh, I better listen to this song. What a great song that is! Did you write that song?
Well, I co-wrote it, yeah, and we wrote that. Mike Barney and I usually write all the songs, and then Danny with the Count Band will help with lyrics and stuff too. But Danny kind of grew up in Detroit, and he loves Detroit. So it's kind of his homage to the city that he loves, and we all love Detroit. We've played in Detroit many times, from the Woodward Dream Cruise to where else have we played? We played Cobo Hall twice.
Did you really play Cobo Hall? Wow.
Yeah, twice, and it was like, oh my god, you know, being a big Kiss fan, I mean, playing at Cobo Hall was like hallowed ground, right? So yeah, we did there, and we go to Flint. We did the Back to the Bricks in Flint, and yeah, so Detroit's
Flint's my hometown. Flint's my hometown.
Oh yeah. Flint's beautiful, man. I dig it. You know, it's like a real, you know, Flint.
Not many people say they dig Flint, so I'll take.
I did. Well, for me, I mean, I was downtown hanging out in the bars and then doing a big show out in the middle of the street. So I mean, it was great for me. But yeah, no. So yeah, Detroit and that Michigan area has always been very, very good to us. So that's it.
You had a reference to Ted Nugent in that song. Is Ted, now do you know Ted, or is he one of your influences, or?
Well, oh, absolutely. I do not know him personally, but oh yeah, he's absolutely one of my influences. All those Midwest, I grew up in Chicago, so I'm a Midwestern guy. So Ted Nugent and Gary Richrath from REO Speedwagon and all those Midwestern players, those are huge influences on me.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we do a little thing there. It's I think the lyric goes, Ted was the Motor City Madman, and then I do like a big, and I put one of those in there, so it's like my tip of the hat to Ted.
I've been trying desperately to get Ted Nugent on this show. I've emailed his manager or whatever probably 20 times trying to get him. She responds to me, which is nice. But she's oh, Ted's kind of busy right now. Ted's out in the wood hunting right now. He can't come in. So, I'm gonna keep trying. Maybe one of these times you'll say yes and you'll get him on the show. But yeah, you also notice in what song was it? Summer '77. You referenced Elvis in there. Well, Elvis an influence as well.
Elvis is a big influence on all of us, especially in the count band. Danny is a huge Elvis fan. Barry is a huge Elvis fan. I'm a huge Elvis fan. So yeah, I mean, yeah, Elvis is a big thing for us. And then, you know, we're in Vegas, so
Yeah. What a better place to worship Elvis at. So
what a better place. I mean, if you can't be in Memphis, I mean, Vegas is the next place for Elvis, I guess. So yeah, so yeah, that was yeah, because the song's all about, you know, like 1977, and Elvis obviously died in 77. And so yeah.
It's I'm a huge Elvis fan as well, so I that caught my attention right away as soon as I heard that line. So
yeah, Barry and I, well, here's a funny little, when I first met Barry, the bass player plays in both bands. I was over in Europe doing a tour, and I got stuck there with the volcano. I think the Iceland volcano. This was 2010 or something. Right. So that everybody was grounded in Europe, couldn't fly, right? They wouldn't let the planes up in the air, and I got stuck there, and supposed to come back to the US and do a tour, and the bass player fell out, and I had just met Barry in Vegas. He gave me his card. I didn't know him from Adam, and I had his card with me, and I sent him a message on Facebook, and I said, "Hey man, I need a bass player. How quick of a learner are you?" So on and so forth. Takes the gig. We end up in Memphis, and we went to Graceland, and our bus had broke down there. It was a disaster, but we go, well, we got to go to Graceland, and we wander around Graceland, and of course, you know, we get to the grave, and we have our Spinal Tap moment. Since my baby left me, yeah, that right. But then we go outside, and it's like, I mean, I giggle at myself, and but Barry goes, "We should probably eat some of the grass."
Are you serious?
And I go, yeah. I go, he goes, "I don't know, maybe it's got something in it. I don't know, you know." And I go, "All right, maybe Elvis peed here or something. I don't know." But we eat some of the grass in the dirt, and I just go, we did it. But in some way, I felt like it helped, because I went back to San Francisco and I did my Cosmic Connection album, and I just felt like I had this, whatever, it opened up some kind of channels, because to me, that's like my favorite album that I did. And I believe that somehow it started with eating the grass at Graceland, because as Barry said, what if it mattered? And to me, maybe it did matter. So maybe that I'm now forever, I have some of the King DNA in us or something. I don't know.
That's an awesome story. And, you know, I love Elvis too. And I sing for my band, and, you know, I'm not a good singer, but I've worked hard to become a better singer. And I constantly listen to Elvis and what an amazing singer he was and how he delivered. And it's always, even when we go to the studio and record, you know, the producer, he's like, "Well, who do you want to pretend to be like?" I'm like, "I want to be Elvis, man." So he was like, "Well, sing like Elvis then today." So he's got a huge influence on my music, on my life, but just on my music career too. And I got to tell you, nobody finished a song like Elvis did, man. He could finish a song.
No. I mean, to me, Elvis is the greatest male vocalist of all time. You know, it's amazing how his voice kind of progressed and changed as he got a little bit older, to where he had that great voice, of course, in the 50s and the 60s, but it seemed in late 60s when he got to that comeback, and then into the 70s, where it just went to a whole nother majestic level, you know. And I think the only one that compares to Elvis for me, who I believe is next to Elvis is the greatest male vocalist of all time, is Tom Jones.
Wow, really? Tom Jones?
Yeah. I love me some Tom Jones, and he's got that same kind of thing where it's just, there's something angelic about that big booming voice, you know. I mean, it just gets you.
Well, you said you used the word majestic, and I think that's a great way to describe Elvis. And Tom Jones, I love Tom Jones, but I'll be honest, I've never really listened to him that closely. I think he has a good voice, but I'm gonna have to give him a couple hard listens here.
I mean, definitely check it out. You know, Elvis loved Tom Jones. I mean, Elvis was a big fan of Tom Jones, and Tom Jones is still doing stuff today
Yep.
And he'll sing, and it just, I mean, it'll stop you in your tracks. His voice is still so good. And I think Tom Jones has got to be 120 or something now. He's still unbelievable.
Have you seen Tom Jones live?
I have. I saw him in 1989 here in Vegas at Bally's, and I like front row. And I remember just I was ready to throw my panties on the stage. It was like, I mean, I understood it. I mean, I like, you know, to be in the presence, but to be in that presence, you're like, oh my God. And, you know, the women are going crazy and you're going, I kind of get it.
That's awesome.
I kind of get it because he's so unbelievable. But yeah, I saw him in 1989. And the crazy thing was, is in 1989, Tom was probably closing in on 50. And you think, oh my God, I'm so lucky and so blessed that I got to see Tom Jones because, you know, but here these guys are, they're still all going, right? The Mick Jagger just turned 80 years old. They just put out a new album. Are you kidding me? It's crazy.
Crazy, isn't it? So listen, so I was reading on your website. I don't know who gave you this quote, but I thought it was quite fascinating and awesome. They called you a great American guitar hero. How do you feel about having that quote after your name?
I appreciate it. And the one that said that was Mike Varney, who he's my producer, and Mike Varney is the owner of Shrapnel Records, and he discovered Yngwie Malmsteen and Paul Gilbert and Richie Kotzen, and the list goes on. I mean, Mike is the godfather of shred guitar, and he said that when he was writing out a thing for talking about me, and he said that he's a guitar hero and an American guitar hero. So yeah, I love it, actually. I mean, that's really cool, especially coming from Mike Varney. That's the highest compliment you can get.
That's awesome. Real quick, we don't have to talk about this too long because I know I told you I wouldn't keep you very long here, but how satisfying is it for you to write your own music and play your own music as opposed to playing covers?
I have never really played covers. I've always been, for the most part, since I was, I mean, when I was a kid, obviously, when you're in the basement, you play, but since forever, I've written my own music and pretty much did original music. And I've stuck to that. I've stuck to those guns my whole career, where I don't want to play anybody else's music. I love playing other people's music. And with the Count Band, we do originals and we mix in some 70s covers. But with my Stoney band, I'll do a couple covers here and there, and I'll do or a version of a song,
right?
Kind of, in my style. But for me, it's always been about doing my own thing, being my own guy. I don't want to be a Stevie Ray Vaughan clone. I don't want to be a Hendrix clone. I don't want to be an Eddie Van Halen clone. I want to be me and present my music the way I feel it, right? So for me, it's always been about original music, for better or for worse. I mean, because I could get in a tribute band, or I get a cover band and go make a ton of money and stuff. But that's not where my heart is. And if I don't believe something, I don't expect anybody else to believe it. So I try to stick to my own guns and play my own music. And that's the most satisfying, because now that's how I express myself, and that's how I get my whatever out, right? I can't go throw somebody into the boards.
Yeah.
So I can rage on the guitar, and that kind of gets my right. That gets my aggression out, so to speak. So
do a stage dive, I suppose, right?
What's that?
You always do a stage dive and maybe wrestle something.
I could at this point, though, in my life, if stage I might break a hip or something. So I got to keep it real a little bit.
Now, Stoney, if you had to name your favorite guitar player, can you, and who is it?
First and foremost, for me, the greatest guitar player of all time is Stevie Ray Vaughan, because I think Stevie embodied everybody from. I'm a blues guy at heart. So B.B. King, Albert Collins, Luther Allison, Sun Seals, B.B. King, Albert King, Freddie King. These are all guys that as a guitar player, I worship. That's the thing. But Stevie and Jimi Hendrix, he embodied all those, and he can shred as well. So Stevie Ray, will probably always be number one for me. Ace Frehley, Kiss, of course. The reason I started playing the guitar is because of Kiss. So Ace Frehley is always going to be right there. Michael Schenker from UFO is a huge influence on me, and he might be next to Stevie the most influential on me for sure. Robin Trower is a 70s right, and Hendrix. Those would probably be my top 5 guys. And then Jimmy Page, Clapton, all those, Jeff Beck. I mean, I always say, like Jimmy Page, Eric Clapton, Jeff Beck. Those are, of course, they are. Right. So I just kind of put those right here. Right. Of course, those guys are influences, but my guys who I really get my most inspiration from are Stevie, Jimi Hendrix, Ace, Robin Trower, Michael Schenker. Those are my guys.
Now, you just named a ton of amazing guitar players. You didn't mention Eddie Van Halen.
I love Eddie Van Halen, and of course, yes, Eddie Van Halen. To some is the greatest guitar player of all time, and I'm certainly not going to argue it. That style of playing is not really what I do, so he's not as much of an influence on me because I'm not really doing that stuff. But Van Halen, I mean, Van Halen is a guitar god for sure, and one of my favorites for sure, but not as much of an influence as those other guys just because of style.
Sure. So what's up and coming now for your band, for Count 77? Anything new that we can expect coming out?
Absolutely. Count 77 has a new live album coming out that'll be out very shortly. Stoney Curtis band has a live album from my birthday show that we recorded in February that I'm finishing up. I'm going to get that out. And right now I'm in the middle of a new studio album, Stoney Curtis Band studio album. Got a couple more tracks to get done. The basic tracks done. I got a couple more I want to get done. And then I'll start finishing up that. So over the next year, there'll be 3 new albums, Count Live, Stoney Live, and a Stoney studio album coming out. And there's also a documentary that's being made about me. A woman named Michelle Adams is making a documentary called For the Love of Blues and Rock and Roll. And it's just kind of, I don't know what it'll be. She's filmed a lot of stuff, did a lot of interviews and stuff, but she's really into it. And I'm looking forward to that being done. I don't really have anything to do with that. That's her baby. And I'm just the subject. So, but that'll be coming out, should be coming out in the next year. We're going to try to tie her movie in with my new album so that they could kind of cross-pollinate, kind of help each other out with that. So exciting stuff. The Count Band's going to start working with a new booking agency for 2024. So we should be out there all across North America a lot next year as well. And the trio as well.
That's going to be my next question is you guys do get out of Vegas every now and then and play in different parts of the country?
Oh, absolutely. The Count Band has been everywhere from Nova Scotia to Vancouver and all points in between across Canada. We've been all across the US for about 12 years. We do a lot of shows with the Count Band. Yeah. And the trio as well. The trio, the Stoney Band, same thing. I was just in Wisconsin in the Midwest. We did some other stuff in the Midwest. Yeah, we've been all over. We've been all over for a while.
Excellent. So my last question: what is your prediction for the Stanley Cup? Who's going to be in it? Are the Vegas Knights going to repeat, or who do you think is going to be win the Stanley Cup this year? Don't even say the Blackhawks.
Yeah, Western Conference is going to be the Blackhawks against the Knights. Ooh, man,
You think the Knights are going to make it back again?
Well, if they stay hungry and we stay healthy. I mean, we had that year. We won it this year. Mark Stone, hopefully he stays healthy. A lot of these guys, we hope they stay healthy. Our goalie, was it a fluke? Is he the guy? There's a lot of, but I'm going to go with the Knights again. I'm going to go with the Knights at least to at least contend for it.
I think that's a very safe bet. If I was in your shoes, I would probably say the same thing. I think the Knights are going to give it a good run. So listen, Stoney, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time.
Appreciate you, man.
Love your music. And thanks for taking the time to come on the Rock and Hockey Show.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. This was really great. Thanks.
Awesome.
Welcome to Trotta, and welcome to the Rock and Hockey Show. This is Rock and Hockey.
Hey everybody, this is Stoney Curtis from the Stoney Curtis Band and Count 77, and you are watching the Rockin' Hockey Show.
My name is TC Lewis. I'm with USA Hockey, and we are with the Rockin' Hockey Show, and I couldn't be happier to be here.
Hey, the Rock and Hockey Show is proud to bring you this video of the song Summer of 77 by the band Count 77 and Stoney Curtis on guitar.
This is Stoney Curtis, and this is the Rockin' Hockey Show.